The crystal champagne flutes caught the light like tiny promises as my father stood at the podium, surveying his empire one last time. 200 guests filled the Riverside Country Club's ballroom. Business partners, employees, and family members all gathered to celebrate Robert Chen's retirement from Chen Construction. 40 years, he began, his voice booming with the authority of a man who'd built a company from nothing. 40 years of blood, sweat, and concrete. I sat at the family table, my hands folded carefully in my lap, wearing the navy dress he'd approved of, conservative, forgettable, appropriate for a daughter who'd never quite measured up. Beside me, my brother Marcus already looked like the heir apparent in his tailored suit, scrolling through his phone with the casual arrogance of someone who'd never doubted his place in the world. As I stepped down, Dad continued, it's time to talk about the future of Chen Construction. About legacy. About who will carry the torch. The room leaned in. This was why they'd really come. To witness the official transfer of power in one of the city's most successful construction companies. My son Marcus, Dad gestured grandly, will be taking over as CEO. He's shown the killer instinct, the natural leadership, the Chen family drive. Applause thundered through the room. Marcus stood, waving like a politician, his smile sharp enough to cut glass. As for my daughter, Sophia, Dad's tone shifted, becoming almost comedic. Well, maybe she can get a job at Wendy's if she's lucky. The laughter that rippled through the room felt like physical blows. 200 people, finding humor in my father's casual cruelty. Marcus leaned into the microphone Dad offered him. She'd probably screw that up too. Remember when she tried to help with the Henderson project? Cost us a week fixing her mistakes. More laughter. Louder this time. I kept my expression neutral, the way I'd learned to do over 28 years of being the family disappointment. What Marcus failed to mention was that the Henderson project had been failing until I'd quietly reorganized the supply chain logistics. But that didn't fit the narrative of the incompetent daughter. Now, Dad said with false magnanimity. Sophia has her strengths. She's artistic. Maybe she can paint houses instead of building them. I caught my reflection in the mirrored wall, composed, silent, playing the role expected of me. The unsuccessful daughter at her brother's coronation. That's when I heard it. A throat clearing, amplified by proximity to the microphone system. Excuse me. The voice belonged to James Morrison, senior partner at Morrison & Associates. He wasn't just any lawyer. He was my father's personal attorney for 30 years, the man who'd incorporated Chen Construction, who'd handled every major deal. More importantly, he was the man I'd been secretly meeting with for the past 6 months. Dad's smile faltered slightly. James? Is there something? I apologize for the interruption, Robert. Morrison stood, his silver hair and dark suit giving him an air of gravity that commanded attention. But there are some legal matters that need to be addressed before any transfer of leadership can occur. Legal matters? Dad's voice carried a warning. This is hardly the time. Actually, this is precisely the time. Morrison walked to the podium with measured steps, carrying a leather folder. Given that you've publicly announced the succession plan, certain documents need to be disclosed. The room had gone completely silent. Marcus half sat, half stood, uncertainty replacing his earlier swagger. As you know, Morrison continued, Chen Construction recently underwent a comprehensive audit as part of the succession planning. Yes, and everything was in order, Dad said quickly. We can discuss details later. I'm afraid we can't. Morrison opened his folder. Because the audit revealed something quite interesting. It seems there's been a shadow operation within Chen Construction. Someone has been systematically fixing problems, securing contracts, and managing relationships, all without taking credit. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I kept my face impassive. What are you talking about? Marcus demanded. Morrison pulled out a document. The Henderson project you just mentioned. Internal emails show that after the initial delays, someone reorganized the entire operation overnight. Saved the company $2 million in penalties. That was my team, Marcus started. Your team was in Vegas for a conference that week, Morrison interrupted smoothly. The digital footprint shows all changes were made from a single login. Sophia's. A murmur ran through the crowd. Dad's face had gone pale. The Westbridge Mall contract, Morrison continued, flipping pages. Chen Construction was last in the running until someone spent 48 hours straight rewriting the proposal, adding innovative green building solutions that sealed the deal. The metadata shows the author, Sophia Chen. That's impossible, Dad sputtered. She doesn't have access. She used the assistant login you gave her 3 years ago. The one you forgot about. Morrison's smile was razor-thin. She's been quietly doing Marcus's job while he took credit. The Kumar Tower project? Her negotiation. The city infrastructure bid? Her financial modeling. 30% of your major contracts in the last 3 years have her fingerprints all over them. The room erupted in whispers. I saw board members pulling out phones, presumably checking facts. Marcus had sunk into his chair, his face cycling through shades of red. But that's not the most interesting part. Morrison raised his voice slightly. 6 months ago, Sophia came to me with a proposition. She wanted to buy Chin Construction. Buy! Dad's voice cracked. With what money? She can barely afford. With the money she's earned from her own company. Morrison pulled out another document. Allow me to introduce you to the real CEO of Precision Planning LLC, the consulting firm that Chin Construction has been paying $500,000 annually for efficiency improvements. Money well spent, considering those improvements increased your profits by 40%. I finally stood, my legs surprisingly steady. Every eye in the room tracked my movement as I walked to the podium. Hello, everyone, I said, my voice carrying clearly through the microphone. I'm Sophia Chin, and yes, I own Precision Planning. For 3 years, I've been Chin Construction's secret weapon. I've negotiated your contracts, solved your problems, and saved your profits, all while being told I was too incompetent to work the front desk. This is ridiculous, Marcus burst out. She's lying. Am I? I pulled out my phone, projecting emails onto the ballroom screen. Here's you asking me to look over the Kumar Tower numbers. Here's you begging me to fix the Westbridge proposal. Here's you offering me $1,000 to ghostwrite your presentation to the board. Each email was a nail in the coffin of his fabricated competence. You knew. Dad's question was directed at Morrison. I've been Ms. Chen's attorney for 6 months, Morrison confirmed. When she approached me about acquiring Chin Construction, I was skeptical. Then she showed me the books for Precision Planning. She's been running a multi-million-dollar operation while you've been telling people she might qualify for fast food work. The buyout offer, I said, taking control again, is more than fair. $30 million for a company valued at 25. But it comes with conditions. Conditions? Dad's voice was hollow. Marcus gets a severance package and a glowing recommendation for someone else's company. You get a retirement package and a non-disclosure agreement. The employees who actually do the work get profit sharing and promotions based on merit, not last names. You can't do this, Dad said, but the fight had left his voice. Actually, she can, Morrison interjected. The board has already reviewed and approved the offer. They're quite impressed with Precision Planning's track record. And considering the alternative, a very public revelation of how Chin Construction's success actually happened, they're eager to proceed. I looked out at the room, at the faces that had laughed at me moments ago, now recalculating my worth. At the board members nodding approvingly. At my brother, deflated and speechless. At my father, finally seeing me for the first time. You asked about legacy, I said to Dad. About who would carry the torch. The answer has always been me. I just had to light my own fire while you were busy trying to extinguish it. The silence stretched until someone started clapping. Slow, deliberate applause from Patricia One, the city's most successful developer and one of Chin Construction's biggest clients. I wondered why quality improved so dramatically 3 years ago, she called out. Now I know. Sophia, I look forward to working with you directly. Others joined the applause, clients who'd benefited from my solutions, employees who'd seen me work late nights without recognition, even some family members who'd suspected the truth. Morrison handed my father a pen. The papers, Robert. Unless you'd prefer we discuss the tax implications of those off-book bonuses Marcus received for work he didn't do. Dad signed. Each signature was an admission, an abdication, a recognition that the daughter he'd dismissed had outmaneuvered him completely. Why? He asked me quietly, the room still watching. Why let me humiliate you? Why not just tell me what you were doing? Because you wouldn't have believed me, I said simply. You decided who I was the day Marcus was born. The spare. The afterthought. The one who might get lucky at Wendy's. Nothing I said would have changed that. So I changed everything else instead. Marcus finally found his voice. This is theft. This is business. I cut him off. The same business you've been pretending to understand while I did your homework. Don't worry, your severance is generous. Enough to figure out what you're actually good at, since it isn't construction. Sophia, Dad tried one more time. We're family. We are, I agreed. Which is why I'm not pressing charges for the systematic credit theft and gender discrimination. Family gets mercy. But family doesn't get my company. I turned to address the room one last time. Chin Construction will honor all existing contracts and relationships. What will change is the culture. Merit over nepotism. Results over rhetoric. And yes, we'll still build with the Chin name, just under management that earned it. Walking away from that podium felt like flying. Behind me, Morrison fielded questions and handed out transition memos. The carefully planned corporate takeover disguised as a retirement party. My finest piece of construction yet. In the parking lot, Patricia caught up with me. That was masterful. But I have to ask, why stay silent for so long? I looked back at the country club, where my father's celebration had become my coronation. Because the best revenge isn't just success. It's success that forces them to acknowledge what they missed. Every joke about Wendy's, every dismissive comment, every public humiliation, they were building my motivation brick by brick. And now I run the company they said I couldn't work for. I employ the brother who said I'd fail at fast food. I exceed the father who couldn't see past his own prejudice. I smiled. Turns out I'm very good at construction. I just prefer building empires to building egos. The city lights sparkled below as I drove toward my actual life. The one I'd built in shadows and silence, away from their limiting expectations. Tomorrow, Chin Construction would announce its new leadership. The business press would have a field day with the story of the invisible daughter who'd been running the show all along. But tonight, I had a company to run and a future to build. One where daughters didn't have to accept whatever scraps their fathers threw from the table. Sometimes the best foundation for success is the low expectations of those who underestimate you. They become the bedrock on which you build something so undeniable that even their prejudice can't explain it away. My name is Sophia Chin. I'm the CEO of Chin Construction. And I've never worked at Wendy's.